We are live for the newest episode of Nuts and Bolts, and as you can tell, Tony Tucker's excited. I'm excited. But are you excited for this playoff game tomorrow? We're here to give you our preview for Jaguars Chargers tomorrow night in Jacksonville. First game of the playoffs. Well, I think there's going to be a 49ers Seattle game before ours, but second game of the playoffs to be aired. First one for the Chargers in a long time. I'm joined by my co-host, Tony Tucker. Tony, how are you doing?
49ers Seahawks is just preseason action for the playoffs. Then the real stuff gets started. 24 hours.
You think they're going to play their starters in the preseason game?
I don't know. What quarter are they sitting Nick Bosa? Now, we already talked about it on MJT, what I think about that game. I'm pumped. I'm so excited. I know that I'm going to have trouble sleeping, thinking about all those things that you want to go right. That's the one thing is I always try to force myself to fall asleep, having a good dream about scoring touchdowns and cheering and celebrating, and all the things that I'd like to say. All the people who send me text messages or try to rattle my cage all year about the Chargers, I just get to check in and just be like, hey, just want to say Happy New Year. How you doing? How's your team doing? Oh, you're a Bears fan. First pick, huh? Good for you. Lions looked really good in that final game. I'm from the Midwest, so a lot of Midwest folks in my life. But come on, got to bring this one home.
We got to bring this one home, man. It's one game at a time from here on out for the Chargers. It's one and done, and your back is against the wall. I saw a Keenan Allen interview recently. He said going into this game, it's an opportunity that you don't know if it's ever going to be there again, and that's how the whole team should feel. You don't know if this opportunity is going to come next year because anything can happen, especially when you're wearing powder blue, it feels like. Now, let's talk about anything happening, Tony. We're not going to talk about it for very long. Maybe we'll give one take or two takes each. Mike Williams is out probably for the entire playoffs. Your thoughts, take, anything you want to say.
I'm extremely upset, especially because my conservative nature in which I would be a coach or the decisions that I would make. I don't think there was a ton of upside to the decision, but with that being said, as fans, we need to ride with our guy a little bit. We have to be there, putting out positive stuff, not out there trashing him, whatever, because ultimately we don't have the say what's going to go on in the organization. I think maybe you might think Dean Spanos would hear enough from the fans. They want to get rid of Brandon Staley or whatever, but what does that doesn't do anything good for us. So as long as he's still the guy, and that's the guy for sure that we're going into Saturday night with, then let's just be as positive as we possibly can about Coach and that he does pull through and that he does do mainly what he was brought in to do, which was to produce a number one defense, which we saw for 4 weeks in the final month of the season, the final leg of the season. So I think we just have to think positively about the situation. And if for some reason he's fired, then all of the other stuff can go on. But right now, this is the guy, this is who we got in our corner. And I'm just going to be okay. There's nothing else to do. I'm not going to be pissed and bitter and blame and do whatever. Just win the game.
That's how I feel for the most part as well. And I feel like depending on the result of the game, then we can start having those conversations. But yeah, what are we going to do? We can't magically heal Mike Williams' back. It looks like you're taking one out of the Thier's book here, Tony, with the positivity. Where is Thier, by the way? I haven't seen him in a couple weeks. I know he works a lot. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, Thier, if you're in the live chat or if you're watching the replay on Brandon Staley's decision to play Mike Williams and the rest of the starters into the third quarter. So just let me know your thoughts, Thier.
He would, and here's the thing, and I said this earlier on a different show. Hey, Justin, how are you? Love the Junior Seau break. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing you got going on. With this, if he just wins the game, if they just win the game as a team and come together and do what they're supposed to, Vegas has them favored, paper favorites, whatever. It'll move on and it'll be better. And he'll get another chance, likely against Kansas City to take that next step. So it's like you just have to win the game to justify that any of the decisions you make are right when you're winning.
Exactly.
Like they make that Cade York misses the field goal kick. Mike, you and I were going insane. What are we doing? Keenan Allen's like, what the F are we doing?
Yeah, he's not even on the field.
On social media, he's like, what are we doing going for this and giving him the ball at midfield? The problem is that they won the game. And then a few weeks later, we're able to forget about it because all of a sudden the team is 4-2, 5-2, like and headed in the right direction. So I agree. I would have rested the players. Like I would have. And here's the other thing I don't like is that when you say, I don't know who to sit and who not to sit, like how do you decide who's what? If you pay $20 million for a receiver that you were so like staunchly saying we have to have back, we're not even going to let him test the free agent market. We're going to give him 20 mil a season right now. That's a player that you can sit for a game. You can sit Bosa and you can sit Mac and you can sit Derwin and you can do these things. You can sit these players. It's doable. I would have done it. You could have done it. You didn't do it. I still got your back. I'm still riding for Staley. Still riding for Coach.
Let's ride. Let's ride. Look at that. Manuel saying some stuff that we've said between each other. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is like it's one thing to come to the podium and say, no, that was my philosophy. I'm gonna live on it, whatever Mike's diagnosis is. That was my philosophy. We wanted to keep momentum. I kept them in for that. It's another thing to even come up and say, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have had him in that long. It's another thing to come up and say anything else other than, I don't know what you guys want me to do. And everyone's looking at you like, everyone on the planet knows what to do. The entire earth, except for the person that's in the seat. That's the problem.
I think that's the issue, though, Mike, is you can't be a head coach of all of these young people and their lives and their outcomes and all of this stuff and come up there and admit to a lot of mistakes, especially when the outcome was that, like he could have admitted to, like, if he did rest them and they came out flat in Jacksonville this weekend and he could come out and say, hey, it was a mistake. Maybe next time I'll give him a couple of series or something like that. You can admit that. You can't be like standing up there going, yeah, I made a mistake and it cost us a lot and fracture that. You just have to go, I made this decision and I'm moving forward. Exactly. And then you can reflect on it in the postseason. Because if you noticed, he did a lot of reflecting on the amount of fourth downs and when he went for these fourth downs. And if you've noticed, we've been going for a lot less fourth downs. And that's something I want to talk about for the Jacksonville game.
Anyways, let's talk about the Jacksonville game. Injury report here. Mike Williams is not going to play in this game. The rest of it for the Chargers is really clean. Rashawn Slater's working his way back. He's not playing in this game, but he is at practice again, and he is in his window to be activated either if we can advance next week or we can advance again the week after that. Joey Bosa, full practice all week. Bryce Callahan, full practice all week. We're getting Xander Horvath back. That's an element to the offense, having a fullback available to run some of those heavy sets and line up in the backfield instead of Trey McKitty. Kenneth Murray is good to go, which I think is going to be key when we're talking about racing Travis Etienne to those edges. Ogmong Mabiga, that's our linebacker depth right there. We all know what he can do. My wife just came home. My dog's very happy. Trey Pipkins, good to go. Raheem Lane, good to go. And that's all of our injury report. On the Jacksonville side, Jamal Agnew, Trevor Lawrence, and Brandon Scherff are listed as questionable, but I think they're all expected to play. It's a playoff game. This seems like a kind of a technicality listing for all three of these guys. They're a little banged up, though. We can note that at least. Any reaction to the injury report? I mean, other than this looks like two healthy teams about to go at it.
No reaction. I would say that like they played in a pretty brutal game. If anybody watched that game on Saturday night between the Titans and the Jags, like that was a very physical game. And there were a lot of promising things that I saw that are beneficial to the Chargers in the way they can attack, especially that offensive line for Jacksonville. I would say this about the injury to Mike Williams. wouldn't it just be completely shocking and crazy if they just elevated a speedster for the playoffs just to give them a different look? Like, you're without Mike, you made a mistake. So why not roll the dice and bring up one of these guys? I think we have, what's his name? John Hightower, who's been on the practice squad, at least according to the app. He's on the depth, like he's on the practice squad. He runs 4.3. Bring that guy up and just line him up out wide a couple of times where he's just going deep. And if that shot is there, he can take it. If not, you can still build stuff off of that. You can see how they react to it in the first half, see what happens. Maybe there's a play you can build off of it in the second half. Like, that's something to me that would be interesting. Like, throw in a new wrinkle with an entirely different wide receiver as opposed to elevating Michael Bandy, where are you going to play him?
Yeah.
Where are you might elevate Jason Moore, who's going to be an outside guy who you might be able to throw something to on the outside, like Joe Reed. Why not elevate somebody that brings a dynamic element like what Mike Williams brings?
Yeah. And I think that Joe Reed could be that guy. And he has a little bit of chemistry with Herbert. Rookie year, we lost the two receivers, and Herbert had to play a little bit with Joe Reed, Tyron Johnson, and Jalen Guyton as his wide receivers. So there's a little bit of chemistry there. Obviously, practicing together, being on the team for multiple seasons together now as youngsters. I'm sure that Joe Reed is probably a better call-up for us than Michael Bandy. I can't imagine that it would be any other way, because the only thing that I feel like Michael Bandy can contribute is working the slot, and it's even a little shaky there, but we got Keenan Allen or Josh Palmer if, the event we need someone to move into the slot.
Or DeAndre Carter. All three of them. Or
DeAndre Carter. All three are slot, yeah.
All three are nice from the slot. And I don't want anybody to get me confused. I'm not saying calling up Hightower is like calling up Mike Williams, but I'm saying that Mike Williams' dynamic element to his game is going up and getting contested catches and going deep downfield. So why wouldn't you elevate somebody else who can bring another dynamic to the offense? That's all I'm saying. There's nobody that's replacing Mike Williams. But if you're going to elevate somebody, why not bring somebody up that's going to make them go, oh, shit, we've not seen this yet?
Yeah, I still don't understand why they haven't added receivers, man. We've had all year, we've had a problem at receiver with guys going down. It just doesn't feel like the depth is there.
Oh, Mike,
we should have been adding guys throughout the year. We should be ready for this.
I was flipping through my notes where I just I don't read everything that's on them every time, but I was flipping through, and I think it was week 7 or so. It must have been, it was right after the Guyton injury. And I was it was a trade deadline, and I had Robbie Anderson on there. I had Donovan Peoples-Jones as two of the receivers that I was you should target these guys. And then in all these letters where it's basically says don't read next to it, but it says I'm out on Staley. I was so mad what was happening with the team, because I think we had just gotten back from the Seahawks game or something. It was 4-3, and I was just in my feelings.
Both receivers in that game.
Dear Journal, Brandon Staley makes me upset, and I was just pissed about it. I'm writing my notes.
That's how we all feel.
It's funny, some of the dumb shit I put in here, and I appreciate it. It's a show.
Well, all right, let's get to our keys to victory.
Yep.
And my dog now is upset that my wife ran to the car for something. Dude, you're okay, buddy. It's all right. But Tony, go ahead.
It's a family show. Dogs are included.
Dookie, come here.
Keys to victory. I think there are several keys to victory on both sides of the ball. I don't know how much you want to get into, so jump in or tell me to stop talking whenever. But if I start from the defensive side of the football, I think we saw a guy last week, and I don't know what his first name is, but his last name was Tart, and I've never seen him before, and he was just crushing the Jacksonville offensive line up the center. Now, you're telling me that we're going to be able to have Morgan Fox and SJD bringing pressure up the middle. I even saw a little bit of speed out of Moa if he's elevated for a playoff game. So, they're going to be able to bring that pressure there. And then also, I think another key of something I would like is, we talked about this, is in their home stadium, test these tackles. Even if you jump off sides once to get a jump on these guys, put a little bit of fear in them, thinking oh shit, that was fast. Or Khalil Mack with a power rush going, oh shit, this dude he's stronger than advertised. I got to be ready. so that maybe at some point you get a couple of false starts and you can put them in early negative down and distance plays. Like that's what I would love to see from the defensive line, is having the same effect, because last week when that happened, Jacksonville played a terrible game on offense. Like in the second half of that game, I think they had like 25 yards. Like they won that game because of a big play on their defensive side of the ball, not because the offense was amazing. And it was a big part was the front seven of the Titans was their front three or four or whatever were destroying that offensive line. I'd like to see that happen again.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing for the defense. I think that letting these edge rushers loose and installing stunts with Kyle Van Noy. Get creative with this guy, man. He is pass rushing on a whole nother level. As good as I've seen him play as a Charger so far. Probably as good as I've seen him play since his Patriot days. He's been balling out the last couple of weeks for us, the last couple of months, really, and in pass rush especially. So I think drawing up some cool, unique new stunts that they don't have on film that they've seen before with Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. You can even get Sebastian Joseph Day involved. It's going to be a lot of fun. Even Morgan Fox, he's a guy that's quick enough to run stunts. I think that they can get creative and they can wreak havoc and have Trevor Lawrence trying to run for his life most of the game. I think another key for our defense is going to be Kenneth Murray, as we talk about every week, coming downhill and being aggressive on those runs by Travis Etienne. We don't want him breaking into these big runs early on in the game. We want them to think that they can't run the ball early on in the game and get them towards passing the ball into our good secondary and our really good pass rush. If Kenneth Murray can fly at Travis Etienne, and I always say this every week with Kenneth Murray, is the best way to help this kid have better performance out there and productivity is to just tell him to stop overthinking it and just let him loose. Don't have him dropping back into zone coverage. There's no reason for it because he can't really cover anybody. Have him on Etienne, on Trevor Lawrence, and not letting these guys get loose for long rushes that move the ball down the field for them to get into field goal range. As far as our offense goes, they just got to keep it up. The offense is still good. Even without Mike Williams in that second half, Justin Herbert looked okay when he had to play in the third quarter. And then Chase Daniel came in and led a touchdown drive with Keenan Allen scoring a touchdown to finish it off. The offense is still really good. I have full faith in Josh Palmer to fill in and be a bigger role in this game. I have full faith if they got to put Donald Parham and Gerald Everett outside a few times to stretch the field up the sideline. I think the offense just needs to keep it up. Feed Eckler early. I guess we could say that, but that's kind of like a duh. There's no game plan for that. You have to get Austin Eckler involved if you have him on your offense. So I think the key to victory for me is going to be that pass rush, Kenneth Murray versus Travis Etienne, and the offense just can't have a dud start or a dud, third quarter like they've had in games this year.
Yeah, I think the key to the offensive side is that Joe Lombardi a couple times in this game is going to have to get semi-creative. I know that he seems to be hesitant or allergic or whatever you want to use to do things like that. But just a couple of times just to give them something to look at, think about, whatever, especially in the first half. It'd be nice to see something like that. But really, like, the great thing for Herbert, and I think is an advantage in this game, is he has two veterans that have both had playoff appearances, right? Eckler was there 5 years ago on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much he played. And Keenan's been there a few times. Mm-hmm. So, like, you have veterans that are there that allow Herbert to lean on these two. Like, Jacksonville has given up the second most completions to running backs. Great news. Got the number one leader in receptions by a running back in our franchise history and in the league. So throw them the football a lot. And then on the other hand, they're bad at covering the slot in this game. Now, it'll be interesting to see who maybe they potentially move somebody in there that they would have had outside on Mike. But even if they do that, it doesn't matter because Keenan's going to cook the best slot corner that we see in the league. So it doesn't matter. A lot of action to Keenan, and I think his shoulders are broad enough to handle that. And then allowing, for whatever reason, either it's Herbert's favorite target downfield or it's Lombardi's favorite player to call, but he loves hitting Parham on these deep in routes where Parham's lining up in the slot almost, or whatever. Let's get this guy some big plays downfield in this game. And did we get anything on Josh Kelly as to why Josh Kelly didn't come back in that game after he had that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. He's not even on the injury report. So
he had that blitz pickup in the game and then just wasn't out there anymore after that. Like, it was all Roundtree essentially carrying the ball. But I really think they have to allow for a couple of stop throwing the ball to Kelly. I wish that would stop being a thing. 1,000%. Like, he'd be much better off just as a blocker. And
why? Yeah. Why is he the check down option in any route concepts?
Yeah, like, unless it's just an easy, pre-made screen for him, when he's out there and that ball has to come hot, it looks like high school football. Like, you're throwing to a fullback who's got feet for hands, and it's bad.
I think the thing with the Parham is DBs are afraid to play up close to line. So you just throw a jump ball, he just catching it over most people. I think they're playing off, and that's giving him those easy in routes. And that's why I like calling it so much. It kind of reminds me of, like, he's not as good as Jimmy Graham, but teams used to just play like 10 yards off of Jimmy Graham. And I'm like, this dude can just cut in any part in his route, and he's wide open.
Peyton Manning has Julius Thomas retired on a beach sipping coconut water somewhere, like, because he was a former basketball player who could just go up and get it. So there's an element of that. There's a comfortability that I think takes place when you have somebody that can go reach in areas of the field that you can't. And we also saw it last week. I thought Chase Daniel was throwing that 2-point conversion away, and I was like, what are you doing on a 2-point conversion? Just throw the interception. And Josh Palmer went up and was like, oh, yeah, I was a high school elite basketball player, and my vertical is 7 feet. Like, he went up there and skied, and I just started playing the old Michael Jordan commercials in my head. I was like, look at this young man dominate the back of the end zone, get his feet down.
Yeah, Josh Palmer can get up as well. And these guys have very, very, very solid hands, both of them. So I think that they're going to take advantage of that and the size advantage that some of our guys have. Bold prediction first for somebody, and then prediction.
So I got bold predictions. I got 3 of them, and I don't care. I don't care if there's a limit or not, Mike. I'm giving whatever I got. The first one is there's going to be a 50-plus yard kick return. Could be a punt, could be a kickoff return. I'm not sure, but DeAndre Carter is getting loose for a 50-plus yarder in this game. Secondly, I think Keenan is going to go for north of $140 on double-digit receptions and have back-to-back 2-touchdown week in this game. Like, he's going to be huge. We're going to have celebrations. There's going to be wonderful stories or shorts or whatever you consume your social media entertainment on. Lastly, the defense is going to, like, set a record for pressures on a quarterback in a playoff game. Like, at some point, you're going to hear Collinsworth going, oh man, I can't believe it. The Chargers are about to set a record on pass rushes on Trevor Lawrence. They've been eating this kid alive. Like, really, he drops back 40 times. I want 37 pressures.
Pressure on 99.9% snaps. And I can see it. Our D-line is hungry, and they're getting after the quarterback late in the year. I like those bold predictions. Tell DeAndre Carter, watch out for turf monsters if he gets loose up the sideline. They come out, they jump out. Andre Roberts learned the hard way last year.
I thought he tripped over his shirt. That second shirt he wears is, like, ridiculous. I'm like, stop borrowing Mike Williams t-shirts, undershirts, bro. So long.
My bold prediction, I think that Herbert has a phenomenal game in his playoff debut. I want to go 350 all-purpose yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns, and he comes out of there and everyone's going, damn, this kid could carry the team without Mike Williams to the Super Bowl. They have to. I'm just hoping, Tony. I'm just hoping that it all goes great and then we still have a chance to go all the way.
I'm extremely confident that it is going to go in our favor, in the Chargers' favor, and everything that they do. There's been a lot of I'm very curious as to how everybody, especially the national media and the fans, would have reacted going into this game. Like, there's almost a sense that it would have been cocky had they not lost Mike Williams. But now the
Yeah.
entire week has been around this. And I think, and I hope, just from some of the messages I've seen, that the team is just focused on the fact that they played bad against Denver in a game they could have won, where they were still pulling starters and thinking about pulling starters, and then had the controversy of Bosa leaving early and Mike Williams leaving early. Like some of the other guys getting banged up. Why are they still out there in the fourth quarter in a meaningless game? Like, I think there's a lot of things that would have been different in this conversation this week had Mike Williams not been the centerpiece of it all. People would have just been going, oh, the Chargers should steamroll them and whatever. And then you're gassing up the guys that are on social media.
Yeah.
I think our main guys that are there, like, I can't imagine Khalil Mack opening up his phone to see what an idiot like me has to say about him. Like, I don't think Herbert goes on social media to hear any of this bullshit. Like, so I think those guys are fine, but there are younger players that I hope are getting a little bit of like, F this noise. We're about to go out there and really dominate in this game.
And this will also be a signal, man. How hard are these guys going to play for Staley? We talk about his weaknesses. We can talk about the decision making. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about with him. The one thing we do know is that every single player in that locker room respects Brandon Staley and probably wants Brandon Staley to stay there. And seeing everything that's been going on this week, seeing all the talk like you're saying, Derwin James got to be getting in front of the defense saying, we got to play for our guy if that's their guy.
You see, I don't even think it's about Staley. Like, at this point, like, these guys know how precious it is to get to this point, right? Because you don't know that you're going to get here. Like, I don't even want to talk about the health of some of the players, like the odds that they would make it this far in the season, like to be out there, that you get this chance. Like, it's about playing for every other person that puts on a jersey next to you that is out there thinking, you know what? My body hurts. My shoulder hurts. My knee hurts. Everything on my body is about to fall apart. And all I want to do is get a chance to play on the Super Bowl. And I don't think that they're thinking anything about that. I think everything goes back to reflection. When the season's over and you start thinking about all of the things that could have, should have done, whatever it is, that's when you start getting guys that start quietly talking shit to their agents, and their agents start leaking things. And, oh, we find out that this person was unhappy that they had to play in week 18, a meaningless game. Those things start to come out in hindsight, right? And that's when Staley can really start to get some heat at that point. But for this game, these guys are going to play hard because all 53 of those guys know what is at stake, and they're going to smash them. I want to say the score prediction to be ridiculous, but I don't actually think that's what it'll be, because I also believe the Jacksonville Jaguars, they know what's at stake. They know what's on the line, and they know what they want.
If there's one thing you can say about this Chargers team heading into this game, we're battle tested for damn sure. We're battle tested. They're going to go to battle even if half the team was out, because we've already seen them go to battle with half the team out against the best team in the league, San Francisco. So, they're going to come out. What's your score prediction, Tony? I was originally saying 31-28, but I'm going to go 31. I'm going to stick with 31-28, even without Mike Williams on the field. I just think that it's going to be close all game, and Herbert's going to get the ball, and we're just going to have just one of those drives that we've seen him have multiple times this year that kills like 8 minutes and then also gives us a 2-score lead. So Jacksonville's playing catch up.
Yeah, my score is 26-20. Chargers get the victory. I think that there's what I would hope for is there's like a 9-point lead. Defense makes a huge stop in the red zone. Jags decide to kick a field goal. They're going to kick the ball back and play defense. And Herbert goes on a nice 6.5-minute drive, and they get a kneel down in DUVAL. No need to put anything on except for he completes a couple of nice third down plays to keep the drive alive and get the game over with. It's a good Jaguars team, but ultimately, Mike, they got to win this one. Like, really, the only thing that would maybe get a little bit easier, or what we would think as fans, like there's no such thing as easy. So like, I hate all these people who go, this is easy, this should be an easy win. That's stupid. But I do think that there is like, who else would you like? The only other thing really is like Skylar Thompson in SoFi. Like, that'd be the only thing that's really easier. And you gotta win your divisions to be getting to that thing. And that's the next thing. Next year. 2023. Suck it, Chiefs. Suck it, Chiefs.
Well, we might be seeing the Chiefs sooner than that, Tony. So get excited. We'll see you guys next week on Nuts and Bolts. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification. I love that flag, by the way.
This was my Christmas present. My wife was like this, and I was like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "I'm gonna wrap myself in this thing and just walk around in it."
Don't take it to Allegiant. Don't take it to Allegiant Stadium.
Why? They take it away or what?
Yeah, you're gonna get kicked out of there in about 5 minutes.
Oh, Allegiant Stadium. Yeah. I'm never going to Allegiant Stadium.
Why would you go there? Unless the Chargers are playing there. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bolts up. Let's go get this W. Oh, wait. I forgot to plug. Nah, I won't plug it. See you guys later.